Behind the cape. So, first thing that we must talk about is the fact that Super Mario Brothers hit 1 billion with ease, killing anything in its path, which is just
Smashing.
amazing that something that's not DC, Marvel, or any of those just destroyed 1 billion.
But for animated film, that's huge. That
Yes.
is huge. I know Nintendo is salivating over the marketing potential of products around Super Mario. This could be huge for that the gaming console. Retro games, book bags, lunch boxes, apparel. Like this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like. This is what it's supposed to look like. That's why these brands and what you do with them are so important because most of these things that people are making movies about and things of that nature are popular IPs. Like that's the reason why $1 billion, or excuse me, a multi $100 million budget has been pegged for these type of projects because they expect it not only to perform theatrically that way, but to have residual income around it as well. Who made that? Paramount?
Universal.
Universal. Man, Universal knows how to use Jack Black.
Yeah,
Universal knows where to put Jack Black and put him squarely in his box so that he can perform. You know,
absolutely. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned merchandising because I learned from somewhere that that's where a lot of these movies make all their money from.
especially children's films. Children's films, you're expecting to get what you get in the theaters tenfold because children's movies don't die quite like feature films for adults do at a certain point. Like even the most popular films, even Avatar at a certain point, it died, right? Like
Yeah.
we're not still looking for Avatar stuff. I mean, fans are, but like you don't see it stock in the shelves. There isn't Avatar stuff being sold to you or shoved down your throat because it has a window. That window ended up being very extended for Avatar, but it's not what a children's film is. You know what children do? They're going to go see it in the theater. Then they want to go to McDonald's to get the toy. Then they want to go to the toy store and get an action figure. And then when they get home and the movie comes out on the streaming service, they're going to watch that joint about 20 times. And if you don't already have the streaming service, you will purchase it so that he will sit down and watch that movie 20 times.
Fair enough.
And that's where the longer game kind of comes into play for animated or children's films.
I think the other thing that this movie has that not a lot of other children movies have, but some do, is the song that's going crazy as well, generating
Beaches,
other revenue over that.
beaches, 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 beaches. I love you. That's what you do with Jack Black,
For
not
sure.
serious person, leader of a world. Don't give me that shit.
Yeah, no, I just feel like as far as generating income, they've got plenty of different sources of income, and it doesn't show any signs of letting up. Just from the movie itself to the merchandising to literally everything else, they've got everything handled. And then, like you kind of mentioned, they've got other characters that they can do this with again in a year or two. Donkey Kong and Zelda and all sorts of other
Mhm.
Nintendo characters.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Long
they've got
list. They got a laundry list over there.
for sure. Let's move on to the fact that a few trailers came out. One that you're super excited about, Equalizer 3,
Equalizer.
amongst Flash and the Hunger Games prequel.
Man, y'all gonna give me John Wick and Equalizer in the same year? Man, I ain't gonna know how to act. Nah, I was very excited to see this movie, and and what briefs synopsis that we've got about the film through the trailer, it seems a little bit different. Same guy, kind of same moral compass, but instead of him being the guy saving the damsel or mentoring the troubled youth, now he's an old guy who just wants to be left alone and enjoy the nice shit around him. And everywhere he go, he seemed to find the criminals. Right? So like I think that opens a door for not a slip from who he is as a character, but maybe a little bit more of a hey look, I'm tired of y'all. Like I moved all the way over here to get away from this shit. Is kind of is giving me Rambo kind of vibes. Like, hey, yo, I am trying my best to avoid this Anna, and Anna finds me wherever I go.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a different take as opposed to him inserting himself into the fray a lot of times through the first two films. So I think that's an interesting take on it. Also, I am beginning to get a little bit turned off by how well Denzel plays police. You know, it's a thing.
I mean, he won an Oscar for doing it one
talk
time,
about
so.
He was barely a cop in that movie, but he was still a cop. Still a cop.
The thing that I have a little bit of concern over is with the Flash, being that it seems like DC is still a little hesitant on whether or not they want to continue this Ezra Miller thing. So even past the Flash, they might still allow him to be in more movies afterwards, possibly, depending on how well this film works out.
I want everybody to pay attention to early reactions to the film, pay attention to reactions to the teaser trailers that are coming out, all right? And just feel how different the attitude towards this individual is as opposed to what it was when we saw him chokeslam a person, or when he transported a minor across state lines.
Yeah.
It feels very differently, doesn't it? Feels very different. We talked about this a little bit on Chill's 33 Burning Questions on Saturday, and this got brought up. There's two camps, there seems to be, from what I've been able to ascertain. There's people that think that it's cool to support the Flash. It's fine. If anybody has any kind of moral qualms about it, it's fine to support it because this guy's not going to be here afterwards. They're clearly trotting him out, doing the song and dance so that they can cut bait with them at the first chance they have. I am more than not convinced that that's what's going to happen. So there's the people that think that, and then there's the camp that believes that the world is right and things that should happen will happen, and that the only reason why they're bringing him out there is because financially it wouldn't make sense to have cut him out of it. They were too deep into it. And so those are the two people that are kind of hanging in there. But man, it's a big crowd. I feel like there's legitimate excitement around the Flash. Now, granted, a lot of it is focused on Batman. Both Batmans.
Sure.
Right? You got Michael Keaton coming back. You got Batfleck. Those are two popular figures within the DC fandom. So, it makes sense. Right? You got a polarizing guy leading the film. At least beef it up with some stuff that people are going to be distracted by. But there does seem to be some juice around it. You can give me all of the semantics between the two that are different. You can give me all the demographic stuff between the two that are different. You can give me all of the circumstantial stuff, the situation around some different individuals in comparison to Ezra Miller. And yeah, there are caveats. Absolutely. Absolutely. The general idea seems to be, though, that he's kind of protected by whatever it is. Some people may say it's his identity. Some people may say that it is his race. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's a combination of the two. Maybe he just has a really good friend in James Gunn and Peter Safran.
Could be.
Maybe they took some of them private jet flights together. Who knows?
Yikes.
He seems to have a very good friend and a guy who, had to escape his own controversies not once, not twice, but a few times. Just seems to have a buddy. Because I feel like if this was all right, we're going to march him out here, let him do the song and dance, and then we'll cut bait. If that was it, I don't think I would work so hard to repair his character. I don't think I would be so profuse in my praise of him. I think I would avoid talking about him until he absolutely had to be in front of the media. Unless he absolutely has to be there, like it's press for the movie, a premiere. Okay. But if we don't have to talk Ezra Miller, because he's going to be gone, right? If we're acting under that assumption, he's going to be gone in a few months. I don't want people to reestablish themselves with him, because the last thing you can afford to happen is allow Ezra Miller to be the new most popular DC figure, because that mantle is occupied by absolutely no one. And so if the Flash is a smash hit, you don't have a problem on your hands if you planned on getting rid of him in the first place.
Yeah.
Because it'll be seen as you just taking away yet another thing that the fans actually liked out of the DC fandom. And if that's the case, then what the hell is going? You're okay. So we're cutting Ezra. Here's how it's going to start unraveling. Oh, so you cut Ezra, but what about Blue Beetle? It's already done that, right? Oh, Wonder Woman may be coming back, but definitely not Shazam. Like, what's going on? Why are you? Oh, you only get to pick the stuff that you want, James. Have we not heard that already?
Yeah.
Look, I'm just trying to parse through it, man. They could absolutely do it. Let the movie make whatever it's going to make, and then announce that Ezra Miller is no longer employed at WB. Or that movie makes a Billy, and they start rethinking whether or not Ezra Miller has to go. You know, let's go on a Star Wars leaks rabbit hole for a moment, shall we? Well, according to sources, WDW Pro, our resident Star Wars leaker, is giving us some insight into some communications that have been sent from they didn't name the manufacturer, but they kind of alluded to it being one of those ones. If you're very big into collecting action figures and you know, building custom builds and stuff like that of your own, you're probably very familiar with this company. The communication is that they have been more than frustrated because what they want is the evergreen stuff, the stuff that's been selling since the 70s. They want Luke, they want Leia, they want Han, they want Chewie. That's what people buy. That's what they have been buying for decades before you even bought the company. That's what we want to sell. A executive at Lucasfilm, I'll let your imaginations run on who that executive is, in so many words, called Luke a cobweb character. Someone who validates the newer characters that Disney is introducing, but doesn't necessarily have to be there to drive the brand. You bring them out for cameos, you come try them out, let them do a circus trick, and then you put them back on the shelf. Does that not feel like everything we've seen out of Lucasfilm since Disney bought it? With the exception of the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian.
Sure. Especially when you're speaking of one of the pillars of your legacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little crazy.
Mm-hmm. Pillar? Fam, he's Bruce Wayne. He's Clark Kent. Think about some other conversations that we've had about mantles and position in the franchise or an IP, and what needs to be sustained in perpetuity versus what can be toyed with and replaced and poked and prodded. Is that not our reaction to some other situations that might have happened in Marvel in the last couple of years? Say, oh, I don't know, recast T'Challa. Yep. Does that not have the same stink of that mentality that the main character is only a jumping off point? They are literally a freeway by which all of the other characters that we want to force to you drive on.
Absolutely.
You'll never actually have it, but it's kind of here, right? Just kind of drive over them. So you're telling me the same company that tried to convince me that, you know, Black Panther is about Wakanda. Yeah, it's about Wakanda. And, you know, T'Challa was a Black Panther, but Black Panther has never been about just one person. Anyone can be a Black Panther. M'Baku, Okoye, Nakia, Princess Shuri. That sounds a whole hell of a lot like, hey, the old guy is a cobweb. Put him on the shelf so we can get this new hotness in here. Which is a demographic I feel like they've been chasing for about 15 years now that has never paid off. When you had young kids, the kids who are disaffected adults now, who really hate, some hate Marvel content, and others are just very disappointed with the quality at this point. When you had them, a lot of that was kind of like irrigation downwards. It was older comic book fans who knew that these properties and knew what they were that were able to introduce it to young kids who hadn't already been introduced to it. And it kind of became like this wash down effect. It was old dads, it was middle-aged dads seeing comic books that they had read when they were children on screen now and wanting to expand that world to their children. And that grew and it grew and it grew and it became inclusive of everyone. But then, you know, sometimes people can't get out of their own way and they think that they can do better. Right? Oh man, okay, well this is working fine, but what if we what if we disaffect the original audience and try to pull in younger people, right? And then whatever we lose on the old geezers, we'll make up in young people because there's more born every year. Makes sense, right? Except if I'm not pollinating down to my younger generation, you think they're going to take your word over mine? Thinking that you can bypass the adult and get straight to the kids is really Disney's downfall. Yes, there are certain separations that exist where you could probably sell a product to a younger demographic that's not going to appeal to adults. But you are not going to bypass the adults, meaning sell something that doesn't also make them feel included in the process. But how are parents expected to keep introducing new Disney properties to their kids when half the time they're either dying, getting yelled at, or being made to be a loaf, a dummy?
Yep.
How likely are you to continue to feed your child content that makes you look stupid or makes you look weak or doesn't represent you adequately? It's gotten very weird. It's like all these kids screaming, yelling at their parents, being unsufferable, and it never really coming out that way in the story. It's just kind of dealt with as if it's normal. It's really weird. A lot of craziness going on at Lucasfilm. There are some rumblings about Jon Favreau maybe not coming back after all of this mess. If you notice, when they at Star Wars Celebration, when they announced all of their great projects that everybody is so excited about, there was one name missing from all of the productions. Even Dave Filoni got a damn movie. Dave Filoni gets to tie off the Mandalorian Ahsoka Boba Fett thing, brother. Half of the shit that you about to be wrapping up was done by Favreau. So how did that happen? A little bit of speculation that maybe that was the hand in hand. Regardless of what is real and fake in all of these leaks, we know Mandalorian was headed in a different direction, right? The first 2 seasons of Mando were not taking us to Din Djarin adopting Grogu and living in a house and going on adventures every week. That's not where we were going. It's not. You can't convince me. I watched it. No, that's not what it was. And so somehow that's where we've kind of shifted to. Also, it felt very clear that moment where Luke Skywalker comes in at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian and takes Grogu, that was goodbye. That was goodbye. That was a definitive goodbye. He took off his helmet. Grogu saw his face for the first time. It was goodbye. And Luke Skywalker showed up. Luke fucking Skywalker showed up. It broke the internet. That was goodbye. So we know that there was a change. We know that there was a shift. And I would say previously, I don't think we were even smelling any chance of going back to the sequel trilogy. And here we are. And the person who's been keeping Lucasfilm afloat for the last 3 years is not going to be doing the defining project of all that work. That doesn't seem right, man. That doesn't seem right at all. So maybe Favreau pissed Kennedy off. Maybe, Kennedy is a tyrant and that's why she usually doesn't get projects out on time or made at all as it is. Who knows? But it definitely seems like something stinks at Lucasfilm.
Ready to talk about some Marvel?
Sure.
First big story. Mila Kunis. Everybody seems to think that she is going to be cast as Sue Storm. And she says, no, but I know who is.
My God. First of all, the fact that Marvel has slid so far that a clearly clickbait rumor is actually like being pubbed and pushed to the point that they asked the actor about it. My God, Marvel, where are we? That people would think that you would actually cast Mila Kunis as Ben Grimm or Bonita Grimm.
I saw Sue Storm.
No, I saw The Thing.
Oh no, that's wild. I saw Sue Storm.
Damn, I saw The Thing.
Yeah,
The
that's
first
crazy.
rumor I saw was The Thing. And then
That's
when
wild.
I saw her deny it, they had asked her, they said Sue Storm or The Thing. And I was like,
The Thing is
yo,
nuts.
drug test Kevin Feige the day Mila Kunis puts on the prosthetics to be The Thing.
The Thing is
Drug test
nuts.
him.
That's
Like,
crazy.
if trying to get fired on your day off was a person at that point, it'd be Kevin Feige. Like, even if it was an idea that was floated, so now it kind of bubbled up into a rumor that they were looking to do it. What the fuck? What? Y'all really? And we're gonna talk about some more stuff that's making me kind of more on the decided side that we probably seen the best MCU days because of some of the responses that they're giving us to one of the worst financial years that they've had in some time. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in what's coming out of the studio currently, but the fact that this was even taken seriously is a little bit telling. What if Ashton Kutcher was Mr. Fantastic? The Donald Driver thing was a red herring.
No.
He's really Doom, and Ashton Kutcher is Reed Richards.
No, absolutely not. I will not be seeing Fantastic Four. I promise you that.
Woo! You don't want no Ashton as Mr. Reed Richards, man?
Ashton as Reed Richards and Antonio Banderas as Galactus.
As Galactus? Oh my God. Like, no hate on Antonio Banderas, but like, I think sometimes, and it's like, whoever made this decision quite possibly has never opened a comic book, has never graced Galactus on a panel, has never seen him, has never read the words, doesn't know, like, more than just doesn't know the character of Galactus, but just like doesn't know comics. I am coming to devour your world. Like that, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm cool. Galactus doesn't need to have a sexy accent.
Suffer, my herald. Come to me, papi.
That's just not gonna cut it. It's not gonna cut it.
I mean, again, no disrespect to Antonio Banderas. A very, very accomplished actor. Has a thick accent. Thick.
Don't think it'll
I don't
work.
see it. Don't see it.
He can be in the MCU, just not as Galactus.
But, you know, knowing the MCU, they'll say that, you know, Galactus was born in a Latin city somewhere, you know, somewhere in South America or something like that. And that's why he sounds like Antonio Banderas.
Is that how Celestials work?
Hey, man, it's the MCU. At this point, we have to throw these up and see what sticks because one of them is real. You know what I mean? Like, we're running through all of this wild stuff that we talking about, and it's like, no, that can't be real. No, some of this is real. Something's real. We gonna see. We gonna see what it is.
As long as it's not Ashton Kutcher as Reed Richards, I think I'll be okay.
Yo, what if Mila Kunis alluding to Ashton Kutcher maybe being cast in Fantastic Four is a gigantic episode of Punk'd?
I would be happy about that. I would be happy about that.
It would be epic, too. That shit would be epic.
It would.
That shit
And
would
I'd
be
be
epic.
here for another season of Punk'd. But stay on Punk'd, not in the MCU. Let's move on to your favorite announcement, Wonder Man.
I am honestly really surprised that they're moving forward with this project. I really am. To call back to what we were talking about earlier, this is one of those signs that tells me that I think we've seen our best days, man. They have earplugs in. They know that the house is burning, and we screaming at them to get out. They done put in earbuds and turn they joint up to the max. They are determined to head head on into the sun. Whether you agree or disagree with race swapping characters, the one thing that cannot be denied is that it is extremely divisive and really has yet to be shown that Disney, not just Marvel, but Disney, and they have a good chance with Little Mermaid. I think Little Mermaid, despite the hate on the initial trailer, is going to perform well. Regardless of how you feel on either side of that issue, is extremely divisive, and Disney has not proven that they can do it successfully yet. And here you go. You got another Hollywood's next up black actor. And the best we can do for him is to give him a traditionally white character to play, and hopefully he can make his own. Well, sure, he's a talented actor. I'm sure he's going to do some decent things with it. But the requisite hate that you are forcing this man to deal with because you were not inventive enough to give him a character that he looks like. I'm trying not to be so rigid because I know actors are the type of people that like enjoy stuff like that. They want to play somebody with disabilities. They want to play somebody who, grew up in a different culture or had, different backgrounds. That's the type of stuff they like to immerse themselves in. At the same time, for the company who would rather get into a boxing match with their state governor than give up their moral code or their moral compass, is doing everything they can not to put the original black characters that they created, or at least the company that they acquired created, on screen. Every time you do that, you are taking one of the actors that they'll even allow to be in the MCU as it is, and putting him in a position that is not uplifting any of the black characters that these people created. But at the same time, we scream in diversity and inclusion. And that shit doesn't sit right with me. I could almost see it if you were going to make him a character that people know, like the character's so big that whatever, controversy around race swapping, like a Bond or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even though you're race swapping it, it works because the character's so big and the actor is popular. Mm-hmm. They're not even doing that for him. They're giving a character that no one knows about, and the people who do know about him don't give a shit. Right? So it's like, what are you doing to this man? So he's going to have to deal with the fact that the character's white, and that some of those folks on that side do not care for that for different reasons than I'm not caring for it. And then you're also asking him to introduce this character that even comic book fans are not like, woo, Wonder Man, yeah. You are making this man run up a 90-degree incline with slippers on in the wintertime. No one can convince me that Simon, Wonder Man, is a more important character than Bishop, or a more interesting character than somebody like Brother Voodoo, right? And you already got a plug into Brother Voodoo because you've been doing Doctor Strange. Huh? I guess they're going to force the whole Elizabeth Olsen, Yahya Abdul-Mateen ship on us.
Yep.
It's the new Raylo, baby.
One thing I forgot to mention earlier, but it's a story that I want to get your take on. Agatha, Coven of Chaos, will feature musical numbers.
This is somebody's idea of being inventive. I can almost guarantee you where this came from, right? WandaVision writers team, they're looking at reactions to the season as the episodes are coming out. Man, everybody really loved that little ditty we did. It was Agatha all along. Ooh, Tiana Paris posted a TikTok. Ooh, millions of views. I got an idea. I know this was a successful Disney Plus series just telling the story as it is, but you know what we can do in the follow-up? Musical.
Gross.
That's how that happened.
Gross.
That person was an intern, and now they have been promoted, and they took Victoria Alonso's spot.
That person is too invested in analytics as opposed
to
what the people
story,
are saying.
bro. That's how they made bank. They made Agatha Coven of Chaos a musical. We're gonna make bank, bro.
Blade starts filming in late May.
Interesting fact. Did you know that the John Wick writer pitched to Marvel for Blade?
That is nuts because that's exactly what that movie needs.
Fam, what are we doing?
Not the right thing.
What are we doing? But you know what made sense? When he was talking about it, he said that we went to them and started talking about, his pitch or whatever. And he talked about how some of his favorite things to write about were vampires and martial arts. My God. So, it made me call back to Mr. Namor's explanation of how they choose writers. We don't necessarily want anybody who has an affinity to the character or a preconceived notion of what they are. We kind of want somebody who's a little bit more flexible and, will allow us to basically shoot the movie for them, basically. And then I'm thinking about dude and what he said. He walked into that office with Kevin or Nate or whoever it was who heard his pitch, and he told them that he really loved Blade and he had a personal connection and that he really felt like he could put a personal take on it. And they said, nope, not you. You have an affinity for the character. You care too much. Nope.
That's a way to run $1 million business. $1 billion business.
That's the way to do it, man. You gotta pick the guys who don't care. That's how you do it. See, everybody thinks you gotta have a writer who's invested in the lore and what makes the story special and in the character and keeping that character sacred. Everybody thinks that hoopla. No, the key to success is finding the one person who will basically let you shoot the movie. That's what you do. That is success, man. That's how you do it.
Last thing we got to discuss with the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie coming out. Seems like they've got a 79% as of right now on Rotten Tomatoes. But like I mentioned earlier, we know how some of these people come out and they'll say the newest Marvel movie is the best Marvel movie we've ever seen.
Movie ever is the best movie yet. It breaks the mold at Marvel.
And also, there's a lot of talk about superhero fatigue going on right about now.
I really wish they would stop that. Just tell these people that their movies suck. Okay? It's more direct and it'll probably lead to you getting some better content. Stop coddling these studios' feelings. First of all, they don't have them. They have bank accounts. Show them what you like and what you don't like, and then be honest about it. It is the craziest thing to me that people would... well, it's not that crazy because people tend to blame individuals over institutions a lot, actually. It's kind of a conditioning. But how you look at a situation where something's being sold to someone and then you blame the consumer for it not selling. You see it a ton now when we discuss inflation. It's like, oh, people need to go back to work. We need to fill all these positions. We need to get people back. People love their unemployment. Or people don't want to take your shit anymore. They got a taste of freedom during that pandemic, and they said, fuck you, I'm not coming back. They don't want it. It's not fatigue of the movie in general. It is fatigue of crappy material. That is my problem. I wouldn't have a Disney Plus subscription. I probably wouldn't have half the streaming service subscriptions that I have if I did not enjoy watching movies. We end up blaming the market for not responding to what you tried to sell them. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. I say this movie should probably hit $1 billion if we're saying it's a success. At least 950. It needs to
at least do better. It needs to do better than Doctor Strange.
I feel like that would be a decrease from the second Guardians movie, though.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 did $869 million.
Okay. So yeah, if you get 950, maybe you just shy of $1 billion, and you still exceeded your predecessor. That's a dub. I don't think that the budget was quite as high as Ant-Man or Wakanda Forever or Thor: Love and Thunder with this movie. So I don't think, honestly, I don't feel like they should be hurting too much.
Does it need to outdo Doctor Strange? It would only need 5.8 million more.
I don't think so.
It'd be close enough.
I mean, without knowing the official numbers on the spend, we won't know for sure. I feel like the way people digest box office numbers, though, 950 is going to put you in a spot that's close enough to $1 billion to say, okay, we did it. It's okay.
Yeah.
And then if you didn't make the money, it made a lot of money in the movie theater. So now you can somehow justify paying yourself $70 million to get it on your own streaming service, as opposed to a movie that barely had the legs to make it 6 weeks as it is, and you pay $170 million for it.
Fair.
But we ain't going there.
Fair.
We ain't gonna do it.
Fair.
We ain't gonna do it.
What is the likelihood that you think is going to get that number, though?
It's decent. I mean, Guardians has a pretty decent following. James Gunn is a good director. I'm worried about it having some of that kind of DC transitional feel to it, though, because it seems like it's the end of the Guardians, as we know it, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, and it being so isolated out of the rest of what's happening in the MCU currently, maybe it has some of that residual "why does this matter" effect. You know what I mean? Or people could legitimately be excited by the farewell. I don't know how to call it in that way. I would just say the obvious that the rewatch value has to be pretty high, and that doesn't tend to be the case in sad movies. So, you know, I don't know. There's some complications there, but I think with what they already have established with the first two in terms of audience who's coming back to watch it, I don't think they did anything with the story or, you know, in the teaser trailers that's turning off that audience.
Sure.
Right? Like everything we got out of the trailer plays with the Guardians audience for sure. So I they got a good shot. They got an okay shot.
My final question about it is, what is the world going to be when Chris Pratt has $2 billion movies in 1 year?
Chris Pratt, the new Tom Cruise.
Yikes. Yikes. I don't know if I like that world, but we'll see. Any other thoughts for Behind the Cape at all?
That's it for me, man. Give us your thoughts on everything discussed today. Put it in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Come back every, when was this going on? Monday? Sunday? Come back every week for another Behind the Cape episode.
Absolutely. And make sure that you check out our previous Behind the Cape where we discussed, once again, Jonathan Majors and everything going on with that situation. And make sure you subscribe anytime we get any news or rumors about Marvel, DC, Super Mario Brothers, all that stuff. We'll be sure to clue you in.